Thanks for joining us. Today we're sharing a story of impact from Pastor Sean here at Rosedale. Sean, I heard you've got a story about someone who recently came to one of our baptism meetings. Can you walk us through what happened?
Absolutely. Honestly, this one is really cool. Clara Jeffries had been reaching out, stopped me in the auditorium at once saying that she wanted some more information about baptism and that she's ready for that. So David, Sorenda and I were following up, texting her, trying to set some meetings, and some of those got canceled. It was kind of hard to get together. I felt like it was like harassing her at times because we didn't want her to slip through the cracks, but didn't want to overly bother her. But on a Wednesday evening, she came in. She actually showed up to the baptism meeting before the discipleship class that David runs. And she and he started talking through her testimony, and it became clear that she had been faithfully volunteering at a church for a little over 25 years, and yet, in her own words, she kept saying something's missing, and it's unfulfilling. With her, went through the gospel with her, it all clicked. Clara prayed right there, asking Jesus Christ to come into her heart and fully putting her faith and trust in Him. And for over 20 years, she'd been trying to do her part, trying to work it out on her own, but that night she finally rested in what God had already done for her.
So in that moment, what did you sense God was doing?
We won't forget it. When she finished praying, she looks up at David, and he said, hands on her face, shaking her head, saying, this is just different. This is different. It's like something has changed.
That's really powerful, Sean.
It really is powerful. It's not just Clara. It's God is moving at Rosedale in so many ways, and people are inviting others to church where they are hearing the gospel firsthand, and they're filling out the next step cards, which we had even this last week, stopping by the table, and those touch points are opening doors for us as staff members to have spiritual conversations one-on-one. And so we're seeing people grow spiritually, and that's not just the new believers, but even those who came to Christ last year. There's real fruit in their lives, and I think it's because of this culture that we have here where the church members, the attenders, the staff, the leadership are all aligned around one thing, and that's helping people take their next step, their next spiritual step.
It's amazing what happens when everyone moves together in that direction.
Exactly. I'm just grateful to be a part of a church where the people in the seats, the people in the congregation, to the pastoral leadership, everyone is working together to make that happen.
What a powerful story from Pastor Sean, and such a beautiful reminder that God's love can break through in the most unexpected ways. Pastor Dan Grant shared a big shout out to Pastor Nick Feltz. In Thrive, Nick had adjusted the small group questions to encourage spiritual next steps. And guess what happened? After groups, 3 different teens came to their leaders and asked if they could talk about baptism. They were so eager that they wanted to meet with Pastor Dan the very next day at school. That's the kind of fruit we love to see, God using intentional conversations to lead young people toward obedience in their faith. And it's not just students. God's moving in the lives of adults too, through conversations, friendships, and serving opportunities. Richard Moses told us about Tammy, a lady he first met at the Back to Church environment. A year ago, Tammy came to Rosedale, and Pastor David Sorenda led her to the Lord. Since then, she's joined a group, been baptized, and now she's excited to start serving, possibly on the coffee team. But it doesn't stop there. Tammy even brought a friend to church this past Sunday. Her friend comes from a Lutheran background but told Richard, "I'm open because I want something real." That's powerful. Tammy was raised up in faith, and now she's raising up others. And speaking of people being invited and growing in their walk, check out this next story. Scott Smith shared about Daniel and Rebecca. Just a year ago, they weren't in church at all. Both had grown up in church but hadn't been faithful in about 4 years. Then last October, a friend invited them to Rosedale. They came, hesitantly at first, but since the summer of 2025, they've been faithfully attending and seeking to grow in their faith. Just last week, Scott started discipleship with Daniel, and both Daniel and Rebecca volunteered to serve at Back to Church Sunday. What a turnaround! God takes hesitant steps and turns them into faithful obedience. And finally, one story that really highlights the power of prayer and how God works not just in students' lives, but in the hearts of our teachers too. Ms. Gnocchi, sorry if I mispronounced that, shared that in recent weeks, students have been coming to her classroom, sometimes 2 or 3 at a time, asking for prayer. These aren't lighthearted requests. They're deeply personal burdens. As she's prayed with them, she's seen God moving in powerful ways. Students have been crying, seeking more of Him, and showing just how hungry they are for God's presence. She says it's been humbling. She said there are days she feels worn down, but when students run to her room for a hug or a prayer, she's reminded, this isn't just a job, it's a calling to reach the next generation for Him. And God is using those moments to encourage her as much as He is encouraging them. These are just a few glimpses of what God is doing here at Rosedale. From teens taking steps of faith, to adults finding something real, to families coming back to church, and even students seeking prayer in the classroom. Everywhere you look, God is writing stories of life change. We hope these stories connected with you and reminded you that God is still at work changing lives, building faith, and writing new chapters every day. And we'd love to hear your story too. If God has done something in your life, big or small, head over to rosedalebaptist.org/story and share it with us. Your testimony could be the encouragement someone else needs. Until next time, let's keep celebrating what God is doing, one story at a time.